Can you be more specific about which change in the leadership change do you want to?
Specifically for the chairman and the presidency.
Right. Yeah. So I think thanks for that question and for clarifying. No? With the amendment of the Public Services Act last March 2022, which was really intended to make Philippine businesses globally competitive. No? This is now going to enable us to, aside from making it part of our succession planning, enable us to actually hire or have a CEO who has experience and expertise who can help us with the next phase of our growth, regardless of nationality. I think that's really the important aspect of this org change. But having said that, it's also good to note and be reminded that Cebu Pacific 96% of our employees are Filipino, and our holding company, Gokaway Group, is also 70% of holds interest, 70% in Cebu Pacific. So it's really about succession planning and really preparing us for the next phase of growth for the airline.
I have another question. So, industry-wide profitability in 2023 is expected to be within reach. According to the IATA's forecast for 2023, do you expect the same for Cebu Pacific? And what do you think will be the main driver next year?
Could you repeat the portion of IATA? Sorry, within
industry-wide profitability in 2023.
Yeah, I think that forecast is a safe one. 2020, the way fuel prices have come down recently is quite positive. But more than that, it's more of the world that is opening up. So even for example, for Cebu Pacific, we are starting to see a lot more increase in traffic on our international sectors. Japan, in particular, Korea, Singapore, Thailand are doing have been doing quite well. Having said that, there is quite a lot of uncertainty looking forward, but we are pretty confident that if we stay with our strategy of sticking to our low-cost model, low-cost product, we think that it could be a good year for the industry, well, for Cebu Pacific as well as the rest of the industry.
So does this mean that you expect cargo and passenger segments to perform better next year?
I think clearly compared to 2022, 2021, 2023 should be much better.
So last question, what do you think can help airlines reduce losses even with rising costs?
I think couple of things. Now, obviously, we hope that fuel continues to come down. We hope that the peso will strengthen. Having said that, I guess we need to focus on our own deliverables. So what can we actually control? Whether it's Alex mentioned the investments in fleet, where the engines actually burn 15 to 20% less fuel every trip. Having more efficient flight plans so we don't burn as much fuel, have more efficient processes and the like. So we will try to control what we can control, and obviously hope that some of the macroeconomic factors also turn positive for us.
Hi ma'am, good morning. Pingabanan po, leadership po. Ma'am, anong preparation po ninyo ngayon sa influx na inaasahan natin sa mga pasahero ngayong Christmas? At merong mga airlines na nalipat sa Terminal 1 at medyo niluwagan yung security procedure ngayon. So paano po natin pinaghandaan yung pagdami ng mga pasahero ngayong Kapaskuhan?
Yeah, paghahanda naman natin sa coming peak is not something that we've only started to do just this December. This is part of our business as usual practice na rin. In fact, I think we've set out that we send out regular travel reminders to the public to make sure that during the peak, everything goes well, no? And goes smoothly. In terms of people, we've prepared for reserves, for our crew, for our pilots, for people on the ground, to prepare for the influx. Constant reminders to our passengers to check in online ahead of time, purchase your baggage ahead of time, as much as possible. In fact, not to purchase your baggage at the airport. Weigh your baggage before you go to the airport. If you're traveling without baggage, check in online, go straight to the gate. No? You don't need to go to the check-in counters. There are several ways to make travel easy and convenient during the peak. And we do send out the reminders to our passengers for that.
Ma'am, yung passengers traveling bound to Dubai, allowed sila mag-check-in 7 hours before their flight. Paano po ito? Hindi po ba magkaroon ng congestion sa ating mga terminal?
In fact, the intent for that is para hindi magsabay-sabay ang mga pasahero like 2 hours before departure. No? So ideally, if 7 hours lang, it means you can go check in early, leave your bags, have your documents checked, and just maybe stay at a restaurant in the terminal. No? That's precisely because ayaw natin na magkumpul-kumpul yung mga pasahero sa check-in counters 2 hours before na. Medyo na-spread out yung check-in time over a longer period, which should prevent crowding.
Okay, thank you po.
Yeah, salamat.
Ian, sorry.
So, I just mentioned earlier that the recovery is already at 92% of the system-wide capacity. I know you've been asked this before, I'm just going to ask you. When do you expect to see 100%?
I think we're looking at 2023 we're pretty close to 100% already. So I think 2023 clearly we will probably be more than 100% of pre-COVID capacity levels. The mix might be different. Domestic might be higher. International probably not yet fully recovered. It really depends on whether China reopens or not. China was a relatively large part of our network. We were flying there 5 times a day into various ports in China. So if that reopens, then clearly the recovery could be faster. But having said that, just from a pure seats or capacity perspective compared to pre-COVID, 2023 will certainly be higher than pre-COVID already. It's just that the mix is going to be different.
The 100% level, you think when you reach first part or
I would say I think maybe second to third quarter.
Ballpen mo ba yun? Ballpen mo, baka maiwan. Hindi sa'yo yun?
Sorry,
yeah, sorry, can't hear you.
Ballpen, hindi sa'yo? Ano yan?
For my next question, if you can just comment regarding if there are more people who intra-Asian travel as opposed to travel from other parts of the world towards Asia. Do you see the intra-Asian travel stronger than the travel market, the traffic of travel from Asia to other parts of the world or other parts of the world towards Asia?
Well, maybe we can speak from our perspective now. Asia's, again, very mixed, right? So if we talk about Southeast Asia, it was probably one of the first regions to fully reopen. So we are actually seeing, for example, for us on Singapore, Thailand, traffic to be quite as strong, if not stronger than pre-COVID on certain markets. It has become more competitive in Southeast Asia because a lot more players are bringing up capacity. On the other hand, North Asia, Japan has just recently reopened, Korea has just recently reopened. But having said that, we are actually seeing a lot of Filipino outbound travelers into North Asia. And I think really the biggest part of the network, which I mentioned earlier, is China and Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong is open, but not really, because if you go there, you still need to, you can't eat out for the first 3 days that you're there. So, having said that, I think regionally, we're seeing a lot more strength in Southeast Asia, some parts of North Asia opening up. China is still obviously closed. So that's one part of the network. I mean, domestically, we continue to see a lot more interest and a lot more travel and really strength in terms of our overall passenger growth. You saw Candice's note earlier. We went from, I think, 300,000 at the start of the year to close to 1.4, 1.5 million passengers per month. And a lot of that traffic is really coming from domestic. You I'd say 70-80% at least is coming from domestic from that number.
Ian, let me try and add some color to that. Like what we've actually seen with our own network, right? When the countries actually open up, there is the corresponding consumer response, right? So in some markets, it's almost instantaneous. In other markets, in other places we fly to, it takes a few weeks before the consumers are aware, hey, it's actually open. There's no more friction costs with, and there's no more safety concerns about traveling to that particular country. And Japan is probably a very good example as well, because when they actually opened up and really fully opened up without any more of the other COVID restrictions, right, whether requiring an RT-PCR test or not, we saw a very strong consumer response on both ends. Both people originating from Japan wanting to come to the Philippines, as well as Filipinos wanting to either vacation or visit their friends and relatives in Japan.
We've seen supposedly because the industry has seen a strong recovery this year, and Sandra earlier said that 2023 will be definitely better than 2022 and 2021. I'm just curious, what would be the fly in the ointment in that outlook for 2023? In other words, what's your biggest worry?
There might be several flies in the ointment. There's so much uncertainty really, no? In terms of, I mean, fuel has come off recently. I think fuel price spot rate was like $105 recently, which is going to be beneficial to the airline's bottom line. But having said that, is there going to be a global recession? Will the peso strengthen or weaken? I think there's just there's a lot of uncertainty really there could be a lot more uncertainty in 2023. Having said that, I think nothing can be compared to the pandemic where we were not flying at all, where we couldn't do anything at all. At least in this scenario, we're able to fly, we're able to carry more passengers. We think we can stimulate demand. The Philippine economy continues to be growing quite, at a strong pace. I mean, historically, we've seen passenger growth to be 1.5 to 2 times that of GDP growth. So even though the Philippine government has said that or reforecasted their GDP growth rates for next year, it's still going to be quite strong and probably one of the stronger economies in Southeast Asia.
ASF, sorry. On the matter of the ASF, I'm just curious how. Absolutely, SAF. SAF, ako sa iyo yata. SAF. On the matter of the SAF, how much of the fuel you use now is basically SAF? So the mix right now, what's the current mix right now?
Ian, what we've done this year is actually done several pilot flights now with using SAF. For instance, in May, we took the delivery of one of our brand new A330neos, and we used SAF on that flight. We also run SAF today as we speak in our operation. We're in that phase. We're just actually piloting it and trying it out, making sure that it's actually available. The issue that we have today is it's not available in all of the ports that we actually operate. Also here in the Philippines, there's actually no one producing SAF today. So even if we were willing to pay the premium today, and SAF, the small quantities that are available today are at very high rates compared to jet fuel. So even if we were actually willing to pay the premium, there's no producer today actually producing this in quantity as we speak. So that's a issue for us. How can we actually secure the future supply of this, because we will be needing it in large quantities. But this year and then probably next year, it's just we're still in the very, very early stages of SAF use and trying to make it more business as usual rather than an exception.
If I can add, I'll just add to that, Ian. I think that the reason we talk about it, and maybe the reason we were awarded as Asia's Environment Sustainability awardee at CAPA this year, is because it's a supply issue. I think it was important for us to discuss, bring it to the surface, to show interest, to show commitment, so that it's always in the conversation. Hopefully, it helps increase supply, drive the conversations towards it, and get more people producing it in this part of the world right now. Say it's not sustainable because it's very expensive, and it's a supply issue. So what we're saying is we're committed to it while it's in the very, very early days of it. We're committing time and resource and intend to support it in every way we can.
Out of curiosity, when you use that SAF, do you have to tweak anything with the engine or no need to?
No, SAF is considered a drop-in fuel, so you can just mix it with regular jet fuel. Having said that, there's a current limit that's put. It's only a maximum of 50% blend with regular jet kerosene today as we speak. But the industry is moving forward to when you get all the new aircraft, they'll certify them to be able to fly on 100% SAF. Right? So the current regulation, the current cap is just it's more for the older aircraft to make sure that there aren't any, because the SAF doesn't have certain molecules in the fuel, which may affect some of the seals and gaskets of the whole piping system of the aircraft.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lawrence from Business Dinner. Good afternoon. Coming up from Sandler's reply earlier about the biggest worries, you said there's so much uncertainty in the industry, but there are green shoots of recovery somehow. Will you still remain cautiously optimistic, or are you now very optimistic about the prospects in the industry?
I think we have to be always, given that we're in the airline industry, I think we always have to be cautiously optimistic. But again, having said that, I think the flight path that we've seen so far is 2022. In fact, maybe looking forward to some of our forward bookings in 2023. It is certainly much more refreshing than taking a look at our bookings back in 2020 and 2021 in the pandemic. So obviously we will try to control what we can control, try to be more efficient, try to encourage more passengers to book online, book on the web, be more efficient throughout all of our processes. And we just need to take it from there. I think being in the airline industry is, having been here for roughly 15 plus years already, it is a roller coaster. You will learn something new every day, and you will find a new challenge every day. So I think it's good to be cautiously optimistic. I think looking at the future, investing in aircraft, building up our route network, as Candice mentioned earlier, building up our frequencies, that's something we'll always strive to do, because it really is part of our mission to make sure that everyone flies, or a lot more people fly.
So given that statement, would you be introducing new destinations, perhaps new routes?
I I think from our
Next
perspective,
year.
certainly, when I think from our perspective, maybe the more important part is can we restart routes that we used to fly to. No? So for example, in Australia, we were only flying to Sydney today. We'd like to return to Melbourne next year. No? We'd like to restart some of our operations in Clark, for example. In June time, I think the priority of the airline is to try and make sure that we are able to resume a lot of the frequencies that we had to stop during the pandemic. Maybe the one reason why the rollout hasn't been as quick is because I think when we were looking at the future back in 2020, 2021, we were saying the recovery would only start in 2023. What in fact has happened is domestic has recovered much more quickly than we had anticipated, which is why we put the capacity there. International has started to reopen, no? And it's great to see some of these things. Whether we're going to open new routes, it's not necessarily the priority. It's really just restarting the stuff that we stopped.
So we're expecting to see the full recovery next year by second quarter. Correct.
In terms of, I think in terms of capacity between the second quarter and third quarter is what I said.
Hi, Elijah from the Philippine Star. Sir, I would just like to ask if you have already exhausted your nearly 33 billion pesos in capex for the year.
Well, most of the capex is associated with the aircraft deliveries, no? So that's all in place. I'm going to look at Maria. Do you have any other insights on this one? I don't have the number off the top of my head, so.
But you're right, Alex.
It's pretty much tied with the aircraft that we've taken delivery of, and by and large they've arrived at.
We've had some delays. So, but having said that, it is mostly aircraft related. So, I think we're gonna have one of our 330s, which was supposed to arrive in November, is now gonna arrive second quarter next year. So that'd be the only reason we wouldn't be using up the capex.
I believe you are also ramping up your fleet for the NEOs, right? As part of your transition to an all-NEO. May I ask how many aircraft do you plan to take on next year and how much this would cost on your end?
Yeah, we're expecting delivery about 10 or 11 aircraft, brand new aircraft from next year though. This includes the 330 NEOs, 321 NEOs as well as a couple of 320 NEOs. So they have delivery schedules associated with them, and we're pretty much expecting almost on average a delivery every month in 2023.
Sir, is there a ballpark figure how much this would cost on your end?
Ballpark figure how much the aircraft that are going to be delivered will actually cost. Let me get back to you on that because there is a list price that is published by Airbus, and we just have to tally it up of what the estimated value is for the aircraft.
Sir, last on my end. With the recovery of you're going way beyond your pre-pandemic capacity in domestic, and you're distributing your network right now. Do you expect profitability for next year, and probably should be a good news for your investors?
I think we provided guidance on the fourth quarter of this year. We think we'll break even. We are certainly more confident on profitability next year.
We have last question here from Ms. Jerry Lao Sancho.
Hello po, good afternoon. Hindi lang po ako ng yung reaction kasi kahapon nilaunch na po yung e-travel platform. Ano po yung ina-expect natin? Kasi para sa mga arriving passengers, mas dadagsan po ba? O mas tataas po ba yung demand ng mga pasahero? Kung sakali man, sapat na po ba yung 10 to 11 na aircraft na dadating? At saka para saan din po ba buhay yung 10 to 11 na arrangement pa rin. Thank you.
I guess, looking back to where we were now, so yung unang-unang, I think, the evolution was yung One Health Pass, tapos naging mas simple. Hindi ko pa po nakikita yung bagong platform, yung bagong plataforma na nailabas ka ng Philippine government. No? Having said that, nakikita po namin na pasimple po yung mga requirements ng mga pasahero. And quite frankly, that's important for, I guess, for a country like the Philippines to attract foreign tourists. No? If you go to Singapore, or you go to Japan, or you go to Thailand, you go to all of these places in Southeast Asia and North Asia that are already open, the process po to get there is very, very simple. Sa Singapore po, kailangan nila mag-fill out ng form sa website, diretso na po, isang counter na lang po pupuntahan ninyo pagdating nyo sa Singapore. Immigration lang po pupuntahan. Ang kagandahan lang, nakikita natin sa response po ng Philippine government, ng IATF, ng Department of Tourism, pasimple po ng pasimple yung mga requirement na hinihingi po sa pasahero. I mean, before, kami pong tatlo bumiyahe galing sa Estados Unidos for a meeting. Nakapag-quarantine pa po kami, siguro mga 10 araw yata yan, no? Pero ngayon wala na pong quarantine, pag-bakunado na po, wala na rin pong iba't ibang mahahamang requirements. And I think that's what passengers are looking for. I think when Alex mentioned earlier na where we've seen requirements simplify, mas dumadami po yung mga pasahero. And given that the vaccination levels are quite high, not just here in the Philippines, but throughout Southeast Asia, throughout our network, we are seeing a lot more people traveling. So hopefully the government continues to simplify the process, and we hope that at some point mawala po siya kasi if you go to the US or Europe, they actually don't ask for anything. To the second part of your question, on the 11 aircraft, it really is on resuming mga routes that we had stopped. No? So whether it's increasing our frequencies into Melbourne, Sydney, increasing frequencies out of Cebu or out of Clark, those are all part of the plan in 2023, if not 2024.
Pero sa tingin niyo po ba, sasapat po ba yun? Kasi parang mas mataas ang demand ng mga pasahero, lalo na po sa Cebu Pacific.
Parati po nagkakamali eh. So minsan kulang. Minsan kulang, minsan sobra. So sa tingin namin sa ngayon, sapat po yung 11. Pero kung meron pong opportunity na lumabas, na pwedeng tumagdag ng aeroplano, titingnan po namin. Parati naman namin pinag-aaralan po yun.
Thank you po.
Alright, that was our last question. Thank you, Alex, Candice, and Sander. Thank you also to our friends from the media. If you do have any other additional questions afterwards, our lines are open. You may reach out to either me, Mina, or even Tita Malu for any additional questions. So again, thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Of course, this wouldn't be a Cebu Pacific event or a Cebu Pacific party without injecting fun. And since this is our year-ender Thanksgiving party for all of you, for all your support for us these past years, we will be wrapping up tickets for everyone. So we have a box here. Your names are in here. We will be raffling off 3 domestic tickets valid for 1 year to any of our domestic destinations and 2 short-haul international destinations. So a total of 5 tickets.
Magandang hapon.
So first,